Good evening. My name is Dr. Doenzuela Wilkins McCory, and I'm one of the coordinators in the Office of Gifted Programs. I'm here with my esteemed colleague.
Megan Scott. I'm the instructional specialist in the Office of Gifted Programs.
We can't hear you.
Okay.
No, we can't hear you. There we go.
Okay. I'm Megan Scott. I'm the instructional specialist in the Office of Gifted Programs.
So for tonight's purposes, we just want to make sure that everybody kind of knows the protocol. We're doing a Gifted 101, Welcome to Gifted Services. It's a parent webinar. We already asked for questions in advance. I see that there are some raised hands, and we already took questions in advance of tonight's virtual session. If you have any additional questions, if you're at a school, you can contact your gifted resource teacher. We have a gifted resource teacher in every building, and they probably will be able to field your question and answer that. Or if you're at Old Donation School, you may contact the principal or the assistant principal there. So for tonight's purposes, we're not really taking questions because it's a webinar format. So we're going to get started.
The goals for this webinar are for parents of gifted students to understand the continuum of services for gifted students in Virginia Beach City Public Schools at each level as students transition from elementary to middle and middle to high school. Also, parents of gifted students will learn about the elements of the gifted program and services in Virginia Beach City Public Schools. We often get asked, what does it mean to be gifted? So we'll give you a moment to look at some of the characteristics and traits that we know gifted students exhibit. Since all of these are things that can be found on a continuum, you might not see all of these in your child. You might see some of them, and to a certain degree. But a lot of the time, these are things you will see when you are looking at a gifted student. The U.S. Department of Education gives a definition of giftedness of students who have outstanding abilities that are capable of high performance and who need differentiated educational programs beyond what is regularly provided by the regular school program. At the state, we also have a definition of giftedness, and those are students in public elementary, middle, and secondary schools who demonstrate high levels of accomplishment or who show the potential for higher levels of accomplishment when compared to the others of their same age and experience or environment. Their aptitudes and potential for accomplishment are so outstanding that they require special programs to meet their educational needs. Virginia mandates that each school division provide services for gifted students. In Virginia Beach, we define giftedness as students who demonstrate potential for exceptional performance and have academic needs that can not be met through the general education curriculum. In Virginia Beach, we identify students in giftedness as general intellectual aptitude. We kind of think of this as the whole child. This is advanced aptitudes demonstrated by skills and creative expression in general intellectual ability. We also identify students and provide services through gifted visual arts and gifted dance. In the Department of Teaching and Learning, in Virginia Beach City Public Schools, is where the Office of K-12 and Gifted Programs, and then more centrally, the Office of Gifted Programs is housed. The Director of K-12 and Gifted Programs is Dr. Nicole DeVries. As Dr. Wilkins McCory mentioned, she and then our colleague Angela Bubaropoulos are coordinators in the office, and I'm an instructional specialist. There's also an Office of Gifted Testing. In addition to that, we have a Community Advisory Committee for Gifted Education. We often refer to this as CAC. This is comprised of community members and stakeholders within the school system. We invite all parents to attend the meetings. They are open to the public. You can find more about this on the vbschools.com under Gifted, under Parent and Community Involvement. That gives the dates and times of the meetings. Additionally, for our gifted students, we have a gifted resource teacher at each school in elementary, middle, and high, and then gifted indoor staff at Old Donation School. All of our work is done through the 2020 to 2025 local plan for the education of the gifted. We look at such things as identification, delivery of services, curriculum instruction, professional development, equitable representation of students, and parent community involvement. These are the areas that we set goals and objectives in order to continue to move the programs forward. And then you can see the gifted services are available at every level in Virginia Beach. They're both school-based and citywide programs. These programs provide instruction through a differentiated curriculum that is responsive to the academic and social emotional needs of students. And this lets students have options, gifted students have options at the elementary, middle, and high school levels.
In kindergarten and first grade, students are provided gifted teaching and learning through whole group and small group lessons by the gifted resource teacher, differentiated teaching and learning developed by the classroom teacher in collaboration with the gifted resource teacher. Students in kindergarten and first grade work with gifted resource teachers on a regular basis to complete lessons designed for critical thinking and creative thinking. All first graders in Virginia Beach are screened by the gifted testing office and can start being identified at the end of first grade to begin receiving services in second grade. So we wanted to talk about our process and how that works. First, you have an online gifted application is submitted. Then the testing and identification process will begin with the Virginia Beach City Public Schools testing specialist. Once, make sure I got this. Once they're identified, gifted identification, students stay identified, second through 12th grade, and then they graduate or withdraw from the division. So we want to talk about our talent development pool. We talk about Emerging Scholars Initiative, that's in kindergarten and first grade. Then students are tested in grades 1 through 7, and they have two options. The first option is after identification, they receive services in their zone elementary school, which is our cluster resource model, where a gifted resource teacher is differentiating and meeting and collaborating with the classroom teacher. And after identification, they receive services in their zone middle school or in the MYP Middle Years Program IB at Plaza Middle School. And then they can either attend the high school, their zone high school, or an academy program. Another option is after identification and selection for Old Donation School, they attend Old Donation School full-time until 8th grade, and then they attend their zone high school or the academy program. Just so you know, students can be tested in grades 1 through 12 if they're not identified, and receive services in grades 2 through 12 when identified. So our cluster resource model is for grades 2 through 5 at their home school, and students in grades 2 through 5 have two options for gifted services: to be a part of their home school in the gifted cluster model program, or to apply to Old Donation School. We call it ODS, a full-time school for gifted students. Each elementary school has a gifted resource teacher, we call it a GRT, that works with the gifted and other students in cluster classrooms throughout the year. In elementary school, students often see the GRT on a weekly basis. Gifted resource teachers at the elementary level work with the gifted students and their cluster teachers in a variety of ways, including collaboration and planning in advance of lesson delivery, co-teaching lessons together, working on special projects, or occasionally leading a lesson in the room while the teacher observes and takes notes. Because the resource cluster is a push-inclusive model, the GRT works with the teacher to build the capacity of gifted pedagogy and resources so that the teacher can continue to differentiate and meet the needs of the gifted students when the GRT is not in the classroom. The goal is for the GRTs to be an integrated part of the classroom. This means that while occasionally there might be specific gifted lessons on things such as growth mindset or habits of mind, just to name a few, more often the GRT works with the teacher to embed the pedagogy and resources into what the teacher is teaching. That might look like a lesson before the air show discussing the history of flight by using Kaplan's depth and complexity thinking prompts, or showing a third grade class how to use mini computers when they are learning about place value. Why cluster the gifted students? Basically, it's a research-based, and when the gifted students are together, they're with their intellectual peers, and they also have access to the gifted resource teacher. Rule of thumb is to have 6 to 12 students in a cluster class. And if a child is identified, but a parent requests that the student be placed in a class that is not a gifted cluster class, the parent can opt out of the services for that year. Gifted Visual Arts Program. Students can also apply in second grade for the Gifted Visual Arts Program or the Gifted Dance Education Program. Students in grades 3 through 5 who have been identified as gifted in dance or visual arts can attend a one-day-a-week program at Old Nation School, where teachers who specialize in gifted art and gifted dance education focus on developing their artistic talents. In middle school, students who are gifted in the visual arts and wish to continue to receive services will go to Virginia Beach Middle School every day, and that will become their home school. Transportation is provided. Gifted dance. Students who are in gifted dance will continue to receive one day a week of dance instruction at Old Nation School. Transportation is provided. And there is an audition process for this program. Old Nation School, we refer to that as a full-time centralized gifted school serving students, identified gifted students in grades 2 through 8. It's application-based, and you have to apply to this. And gifted identification is required in Virginia Beach City Public Schools. Curriculum includes school district learning objectives, Virginia standards of learning with focus on curriculum specifically to meet the needs of the gifted learner. And here are the information regarding gifted art, gifted dance, and Old Nation School information nights. So if you're interested in attending the ODS Gifted Visual Arts, if you think that your student has an amazing art talent or dance, Wednesday, November 3rd is the date. Virginia Beach Middle School Gifted Visual Arts Information Night for rising 6th through 8th graders is on Thursday, December 9th. There are virtual tours of the art and dance studios. They're amazing. And Old Nation School Middle School Information Night for rising 6th through 8th graders is Wednesday, November 10th. Old Nation School Elementary Information Night is for rising 2nd through 5th graders, and that's Wednesday, December 1st.
And all of these dates are on the Old Nation School website as well. Once students finish elementary school, they transition to middle school. And in all middle schools, the zone middle schools have a gifted resource teacher who works with the gifted population at the school. In middle school, gifted students are typically clustered on teams. Historically, there have been 4 teachers on a team, but sometimes that number changes depending on the number of students at the school. The number of cluster teams is dependent on the number of identified gifted students at each grade level. Depending on the number of gifted students in the building and the amount of teachers who teach gifted students, and when you factor in that each teacher has 4 to 5 classes, GRTs could potentially have students in 80 classes at each grade level. This is a lot different than elementary school. GRTs work with students in cluster classrooms in concert with the cluster teachers as much as possible. But with as many classes to get to, sometimes it is harder to see the students on a weekly basis like they do in elementary school. In addition to co-teaching with cluster teachers, GRTs also work to develop lesson plans and units with teachers to ensure that high-quality differentiated instruction that is appropriate for gifted learners is occurring in the cluster classrooms. The GRT is a resource for all the teachers in their building. Additionally, middle school GRTs often have lunch groups or sometimes after-school activities for gifted learners. This is another way for students to connect with the GRT and their gifted peers outside of the academic setting. High schools in Virginia Beach also have GRTs to work with gifted students. All high schools try to cluster gifted students in 9th and 10th grade. In grades 11 and 12, GRTs work with their administrators and school counseling departments to see where gifted students are falling out in groups or kind of clustered together regarding the courses they are taking. Although clustering is more challenging due to the variety of advanced courses students can take, GRTs strive to build and develop relationships with their gifted students and work closely with students applying for programs, including the Governor's School, the Summer Governor's School Residential Program, and Governor's School for the Arts. Questions that have been asked are about high school programs in Virginia Beach. That one question was about that matches or would be a transition from Old Donation School. It really is dependent on where the interests of your child are. We have so many amazing high school options. And again, every high school has a gifted resource teacher. So if your child has a passion for languages, then Tallwoods Academy with Global Studies and World Languages is a good fit. If they are interested in a career in the medical field, then Bayside's Health and Science Academies would be a good fit. So all of the schools have great programs and they have great gifted resource teachers. So it really is, I would say, the best, looking for the best fit for your child and what they see kind of heading towards in the future. So just as a note for 8th grade parents, I'm one of those also. If your child is interested in applying to academies, typically in the fall, there is some kind of open house or fall academy night with the different schools. When you go on the vvschools.com and you look on the academy page, they'll have information about timelines, due dates, which the due date for applications has typically been in January, but double check that date. There's one application they complete for all of the academies, but they have different parts to it. So they might have to do an essay for each one they're applying to. If they're applying to Salem, to the Performing Arts Academy, and then they will have to do an audition. If they are applying to Ocean Lakes Math and Science Academy or Princess Anne's IB Academy, then they would have to take a test for that. The exception would be MYP students at Plaza Middle School going to Princess Anne, and the school will talk to you about that process. Teacher recommendations are needed to apply to academies. However, you don't have to ask them. They know that they have to do that. So once you initiate the application for an academy, then the teacher is notified that they need to do that, the recommendation for the student. I do encourage students to get the applications in as soon as possible. Obviously, there's plenty of time right now since we're just still in September, but it is always better for teachers to have more time to have thoughtful recommendations than to have to wait till the last minute. Also, I highly encourage you to have your child complete their own application. What we see is that children who take that initiative to really do the application are the ones who are excited about being in the program. And sometimes that makes a difference in how they do. So in Virginia Beach, all of our services work to ensure that the needs of the gifted students are being met through the social, emotional, and their academic needs. The elements of our programs include the Gifted Resource Program, include advocacy, clustering that Dr. Wilkins-McQuarrie mentioned earlier, identification and placement. It includes professional learning, collaboration and coaching, differentiation of curriculum and instruction, communication and enrichment.
So this slide, it shows some of the gifted programs, pedagogy, and essential elements that we provide for our gifted resource teachers. We have a professional learning plan every year. We update it from it's 22, 23, and monthly we have professional learning opportunities so that our gifted resource teachers are up on the current evidence-based strategies, instructional strategies, and models and approaches. So you might hear somebody say, or a child say something about Kaplan's depth and complexity thinking prompts. That's a foundational piece that we use to differentiate instruction in our gifted program at the Old Donation School and in our gifted cluster model. So, and these are just some of the things like growth mindset, habits of mind, and then we have some resources like Project Clarion from William and Mary and Jacob's Ladder. You will see some of these things throughout the year. You won't see them like every day because we have a plethora of resources, as you can see, and we do a lot of professional learning to make sure that we are the best, and we offer lots of opportunities for your students. So here are some of the resources that we have in in the GRT's library. All of the gifted resource teachers in Virginia Beach City Public Schools has an extensive library. And if you're interested in some of the things that we have to offer, some of the books that we have, you can contact your gifted resource teacher in your building and check some of the resources out. Like A Parent's Guide to Gifted Children is a great resource if you want to learn more about how your child has overexcitabilities, or then when you want to know about their affective domain, which is their social emotional piece, as well as the critical thinking. And it talks about specific traits and characteristics that your child may or may not go through. It's written by the late Dr. James Webb, who is a gifted psychologist, and started the SING, Supporting Emotional Needs for the Gifted organization. So those are just some of the resources that we have, and we utilize on a daily basis. So differentiation. How do we differentiate in Virginia Beach City Public Schools? We differentiate by content, products, and product. And we use it based to according to our students' learning styles, their learning profile, their interests, and their ability, their readiness to increase their growth, motivation, and efficiency. So it's not just giving them more work. We try to make sure that we meet their needs based upon maybe the content. We might change that, or we might use it regarding if maybe they've mastered an objective and they need more. And so we go deeper into using Kaplan's depth and complexity prompts. We might go a little deeper, dig a little deeper, and let them do an independent study. I mean, there's lots of ways to differentiate, and we have lots of resources so that your child can reach their maximum potential. Also in Virginia Beach City Public Schools, we have gifted benchmarks in grades K through 1, at 3rd grade, 5th grade, 8th grade, and 12th grade. These goals are basically to develop the critical thinking and creative abilities and problem solving skills. And we want to make sure at every milestone that our gifted students are reaching these benchmarks. And these are just the ones on the screen are for kindergarten and 1st grade. We want to make sure that they develop an understanding for systems of knowledge, things, issues, and problems that frame the external world. And we want them to develop metacognitive skills. Metacognition is thinking about your thinking so that you're always reflecting and getting deeper knowledge. And we want to make sure that they foster self-directed learning in order to develop self-understanding and awareness. So we have, as I stated before, we've got lots of resources, and your gifted resource teacher has an extensive library. You're curious about any things that we've mentioned today, you can contact your GRT at the school, and they should be able to advise you on lots of things regarding your gifted student. We want mostly the affective domain, which is their social emotional needs, and their cognitive. We want to make sure that you stretch their brains and that they're intellectually stimulated as well. At this time, and there's some books. If you're not familiar, you can also go to the National Association for the Gifted. Sorry about that. And there's SING, Supporting Emotional Needs for the Gifted. There's also the Virginia Association for the Gifted. I'm the current president. And if you have any questions about some of these things, we're glad to help you. And there's something on mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck. I mentioned the Parent's Guide to Gifted Children by Dr. James Webb. And we just have lots of resources that we'll be glad to help you with. So if you have additional questions, we want you to reach out to your gifted resource teacher at your home school. If your student is identified gifted and you have questions, or even if they're not identified gifted and you want to learn more about the process, you may contact the gifted resource teacher in the building. Or if you're at Old Nation School, you can also contact the principal or the assistant principal and or meet with their teacher, ask them questions about the process. They'll be glad to help you. This webinar is, we already, some of you have raised your hand again, and we took questions in advance because this is a webinar platform. And if you have any other questions, we direct you back to your school, your site-based school, your zone school. So we thank you for joining us today. It was a pleasure to sit and discuss our program in Virginia Beach City Public Schools. I know you probably have lots of questions, but make sure to reach out again to your gifted resource teacher in the building, and they'll be glad to assist you. They're extremely knowledgeable and have lots of resources to share with you. Again, my name is Dr. McCory. I'm one of the coordinators in the Office of Gifted Programs, and I'm here with
Megan Scott, the instructional specialist in the Office of Gifted Programs, and we thank you for being with us tonight. Please look forward to our next webinar in November, which will be on executive function, how to build lifelong success for your students.